Hello and welcome to the local campaign. I'm your moderator, Don Pittman. Today we meet the Pickering-Uxbridge Riding candidates vying for your vote in the upcoming June provincial election. Joining us in studio are PC candidate Peter Falvey, Liberal candidate Ibrahim Daniel, and Green candidate Adam Naraway. NDP candidate Narissa Carino was unable to attend, but she has provided us with an opening and closing statement that I'll read on her behalf. Let's get started by taking a look at the rules.
Each candidate will be given 1 minute to make an opening statement. Candidates will be asked to respond to questions in rotating order to ensure fairness. The questions will be provided by Rogers TV and will also include relevant questions submitted by members of the public to the Rogers TV website. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes to respond to each question. Each candidate will be given 30 seconds to provide a rebuttal to another candidate at the moderator's discretion due to time constraints. Each candidate will be given 1 minute to make a closing statement.
And now it's time for the candidates to introduce themselves. As I mentioned, NDP candidate Narissa Carino was unavailable today to join us, but she has sent along an opening statement, and I'll read that now. Thank you for the invitation to today's debate. Unfortunately, I'm unable to attend as I had previously made a commitment with my students prior to receiving this invitation. Though I see the importance of this debate, I also value the integrity of keeping my promises. However, I did want to make sure that you knew that we do not have to settle for bad or worse this election. We can have a better Ontario. I'm not a typical politician. I will not list my titles and awards because this campaign is simply not about me. It's about you. It's about us. This campaign is about working towards making life affordable. The NDP has a strong and bold plan that will get us there. Thank you so much. Okay, and now we'll kick off, I guess, with PC candidate Peter Falvey, and we'll look for your opening statement. Peter, you have the floor.
Thank you, Don, and good evening, everyone. Hello, my name is Peter Falvey, and I'm applying for the job of MPP for Pickering-Uxbridge. I'm a first-generation Canadian. My mother came from Hungary during World War II with bombs and bullets overhead. My father, at the age of 19, never to see his parents again. And they came to Canada and met here in Ontario. Back then, Ontario had a gold-plated AAA credit rating, low debt, low taxes, and low hydro rates. Much to my chagrin today in Ontario, we have the opposite. Pickering and Uxbridge are communities of hard-working people who want to live and be part of the Ontario dream. But sadly, after 15 years of waste, mismanagement and scandal under the Liberals and Kathleen Wynne, this is no longer the case. But help is on the way. A progressive Conservative government will provide relief for hydro rates, lower taxes, create good jobs, fix health care, and bring integrity and accountability back to government.
Okay, that's time. Okay, very, very short time window here. You got to be quick. And now Liberal candidate Ibrahim Daniel. Ibrahim, go ahead.
Thank you to the organizer for inviting me here today and providing me with the forum to outline the Ontario Liberal Party's plan for care and opportunity. My name is Ibrahim Daniel and I am running to be your representative in the new riding of Pickering-Uxbridge at Queen's Park. I am proud to call Pickering home, a place where I live with my wife and 3 sons and where my youngest son attends elementary school. I'm running to be your MPP because I care about working with the multiple level of government to create sustainable policies which ensure that as our community grows and ages, the services people rely on grow along with it. The Ontario Liberal Party has the only plan that ensures our kids get the best start in life by having access to those services, and that is one of the many reasons why I am running for the Ontario Liberal Party.
Okay, thanks very much. And the Green Party candidate, Adam Naraway. Go ahead.
Thanks, Don. My name is Adam Naraway, and I'm your Green Party candidate for Pickering-Uxbridge. I've lived in Pickering for 35 years, and as your Green Party candidate, I will fight to support local businesses and to lower your monthly bills. We want to protect our air, water, and places that we love. We want to build a healthcare system that invests in that invests in preventing illness, not just treating it. You deserve a voice in Pickering-Uxbridge, and I want to be that voice for you. Politics as usual is broken. With the Green Party, we believe in honesty and integrity, and bringing that back into politics. Thank you.
Okay, that's great. So, Adam, I'm going to start with you with the first question. We're just going to kind of reverse the flow because I started with the PC candidate, so flip it around the other way rather. So, first question, these are from our viewers and staff, and kind of a mixed bag here. Ontario's third largest budget expense is the annual interest cost on the money the Government of Ontario has borrowed over the past several years. As interest rates rise, so will this cost. Are you concerned about this cost, and what, if so, would you do to eliminate or to reduce that burden?
Thanks, Don. So as the Green Party, we're absolutely concerned about interest rates and costs. What we would do to reduce the burden, first thing we want to do is we want to look at small business as well as corporate taxes. We want to lower payroll taxes for small businesses. And we want to look at efficiencies at Queen's Park. We want to end a lot of the duplication that exists within Queen's Park. We want to make things run more efficiently. And then we also want to invest in green technology and in future technologies. We really want to make it so that we're a Queen's Park that's working towards the future with future goals in mind while keeping an eye on the bottom line.
Okay, very good. That's great. Thanks. Okay, Ibrahim, your thoughts on that question?
Yeah, we are at this point the lowest interest rates. Our government went for deficit. The reason was to provide care. We don't believe in cuts because when it comes to the care. And the care is not, it's a health care, it's a child care, it's a seniors care. And we have only 1% deficit of GDP. With the time, revenue will come and we will overcome because we have to give a balanced budget later on. So we can't compromise on care by cutting services, especially essential services. That's my answer.
Okay, all right. And Peter, go ahead.
Well, the question about interest costs, we're now at $12 billion. That's $1 billion a month. And this government, when they promised that they were going to go into balance, are now going back into deficits as far as the eye can see, as is the NDP. When you spend $1 billion a month on interest, you're taking away money for hospitals, for mental health and addiction facilities, education facilities. And we've seen an incredible amount of waste in this government. $1.2 billion on the gas plants, $8 billion on e-health. These are eye-watering numbers. And markets are saying this is a challenge. Our AAA rating is now the second lowest, only to Newfoundland. So we've got to do more for this generation and for the next generation. We have to be fiscally responsible, and interest payments to bondholders is not the way to go. We'll find waste. In fact, the Auditor General found $1 billion of waste last year in her value for money audit. We can't continue to waste money and spend money on interest and not provide the quality of services that this province and everyone has come to expect. Since Kathleen Wynne and the Liberals have been in government, we've increased the debt by $180 billion. This is real money, and it's time we get our fiscal position back on track. And we'll do that without cuts. We'll find efficiencies. And we don't have to even go too far to find out. The Auditor General, auditing 14 programs out of hundreds, found over $1 billion.
Okay, very good. Ibrahim, you guys are all allowed a 30-second response if you want to jump in. So you look like you want to say something.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah, just put your hand up if you want to.
$18 billion in cuts. It has been said by the Ford, by the leader of PC. How $18 billion? Cutting the services, eliminating the jobs. Last time PC leadership came and says, we will cut 100,000 jobs. This time, what's? Jobs for nurses. You will cut free Pharmacare. You will bring down $14. You will bring down the seniors, what we are investing in seniors. I'm sorry, I don't take it.
Okay. You want to
respond to that?
Go
Well,
ahead, Peter. Yeah.
Well, we're not going to make a single cut. Doug Ford has been clear about that. We're going to do it through efficiencies. And the dirty little secret, Ibrahim, and I'm sure you know this, buried on page 224 of the last budget, is $1.5 billion of efficiencies identified by your own government. Annualized, that's the same number that we're looking at. The amount of waste that this government has incurred is where we need to go so that we can provide relief for Ontarians.
Okay, very good. Okay, we'll move on to the next question then. And Ibrahim, this will be your question to start with, and then we'll just going to move down the table here. There's been a great deal of talk about how to rein in the costs for electricity users in Ontario. What's your party's plan for this? So that's your question to start, Ibrahim.
Hydro, we brought Fair Hydro Plan. And that hydro plan ensures that there will be a 25% relief for the Ontarians. I have met a lot of people. I'm going door to door. And even today, when I knocked the door, I found someone was very happy what our government is doing with the hydro.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's fine. Go ahead there next. Here, Adam.
So the Green Party plan for reducing your hydro rates is that we want to stop this black hole investment that we've gotten into with investing in nuclear power. We actually want to start looking at the decommissioning of our nuclear power plants and start buying hydro from Hydro-Quebec. It's a much lower rate for electricity, and it also means that we're going to be looking at renewable power as opposed to nuclear waste. The other thing that the Green Party wants to do is we want to invest in not only just renewable energy, but we want to invest in homeowners and businesses making green efficiencies within their business itself. So that on your side, you can be conserving energy, using less energy, and on our side, we'll be providing a cheaper energy from a renewable source.
Okay, very good. Peter?
Well, I've been, thank you for the question, and hydro is probably one of the biggest things I hear knocking at the door. Often families have to choose between eating and heating. We've seen hydro bills skyrocket 300% since the Liberal government came into power. And people are struggling. Life is less affordable. So we've got to do more. And to give a 25% reduction, as my colleague has just mentioned, after raising prices by 300% is not fair. Putting the debt to finance the 25% off on future generations is not fair. So we have to talk about fairness, and we have to talk about everyone in Ontario, and its businesses too. So Doug Ford has a plan, and that plan includes cutting hydro bills by another 12%. And we do that by giving dividends back to hydro bill payers. We would also end the conservation fund, putting it on ratepayers and putting it on the taxpayers, and we'd stop writing bad energy contracts for power that we don't need. So we'd bring $178 for the average family relief, and that's part of our plan, because no one should have to make a decision between heating and eating.
Okay, very good. Thanks. Any comments? Go ahead, Eber.
Liberal Party provided clean energy. All the mess we have to clean. We have to clean the dirty linen, what the Conservative has left in when it was a Harris era. So this was the investment. It's not an expense, and we get the return on investment. That's why hydro is there. We have a clean hydro plan.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Any response? Yeah. Go ahead, Adam.
I'm sorry, but first of all, the hydro plan that the Liberals currently have is actually a subsidy that's going to end. So immediately when that subsidy ends, you're going to see your bills go up. And then by the Liberal plan, which is going to be continuing to invest in aging nuclear plants, which also create nuclear waste that we still don't have a plan for, you're investing in a nuclear plant that's going to continue to degrade, does not provide renewable energy, it's not clean energy, and it's not the way of the future. Presently, you're looking at a 180% increase on your next hydro bill.
Okay. Any other comments? No? Well, we can move on here. Okay, Peter, this will be your question. This is kind of what I call a backyard question, more local. It says the town of Ajax is at odds with the province over the decision to approve the Durham Live Casino project in the Pickering area, which will potentially mean the closure of the Ajax Downs Casino and Racetrack. Racing quarter horse owners fear that the track closure will lead to the end of their sport in Ontario. Where do you stand on this issue?
Well, it's an important issue for not just Ajax and Pickering, but for the region of Durham. We need good jobs, and we need to attract people to spend money in both Pickering and Ajax. As you know, the council in Pickering in 2012 put forward a plan to entice someone, put the conditions in place to attract a casino into Pickering. Ajax had that same opportunity. And with the Liberals, we've seen them mismanage this process. So I'm all for anything that brings quality jobs to the region. I'm all for helping build our economy and diversifying our tax base in Ajax and Pickering. I'm all for good jobs. And I see the proposal that's the site that's been selected would share 30% of the revenues with the region and would protect jobs from the Ajax Casino. Our leader, Doug Ford, has said that we will work with all parties to ensure that fairness is put forward in the region, both for Pickering and Ajax.
Okay.
This is
Abraham?
unfortunately a cliche.
You can answer the question first, Abraham, and then we'll hear
I
from
see. Okay.
the Green, and then we'll come back on comments.
I thought let
okay?
me be back.
That's all right.
Okay, that's fine. So, 87 last referendum, there was a question the last municipal elections. So almost over 87% of Pickering wants Durham Live here. And that was, I must say, on this forum, and I acknowledge the services of and efforts of Mayor Dave Ryan on promoting and advocating Durham Live. Durham Live will bring more than 15,000 sustainable jobs. It's just not a casino. It will bring a ripple effect by bringing a lot of other activities with Durham Live. And this will boom the economy of Pickering. And Pickering will have a different face then. And 30% of the revenue will go to, as Peter said, to the Durham region. That means we are getting, we are win-win situation with all the stakeholders and all the partners. And being a representative and the future MPP of Pickering-Uxbridge, I think this Durham Live will be a blessing for my constituency, where I'll be working hand in hand with Mayor and with the community, with the stakeholders, by supporting, fully supporting Durham Live.
Okay, very good. Adam, your thoughts?
You know, it doesn't sound like such a win-win situation when you consider the 1,800 potential jobs that are going to be lost to the agribusiness if Ajax closes down. The reason why we're in such a pickle about the Durham Live location is because it's in Pickering and we already have a casino in Ajax. And there's a provincial regulation which says that we can't have a casino in both Pickering and Ajax. I think the right thing personally is that we need to look at this regulation. We need to find a way that we can actually accommodate both. I think that if we can take the Ajax down situation, focus on the horse racing and the slots, and also keep the Durham Live situation as a multiplex that includes theaters, a water park, casino, hotel, it's really two different businesses that we're looking at. I think the Ajax situation is one of quarter horse racing as well as slots. It's also got a traditional lot there, being the horse racing. It's been there since I was a kid. I remember going to Pico Downs to buy tack when I used to ride horses as a kid. So, I mean, I think there's room for both. I think that we can find a beneficial solution where both players can keep their hat in the ring, and that we can, as Pickering, benefit from the much needed job influx that we would see in Pickering, and that Ajax can continue to benefit from a situation that's already created and has already worked so hard to keep.
Okay, very good. Okay, everyone, go ahead.
Ajax, all the Ajax Downs jobs are protected and they will be moved.
They're not all protected though, because those 1,800 agri jobs that the horses depend on will no longer be protected. 300 jobs that you're talking about are jobs that are specific to the casino itself. Now, a lot of those casino people, a lot of those people who are coming to the casino are coming there for both horse racing and slots. But as soon as you move those slots away from there and close down that casino, your horse racing business is going to tank, unfortunately.
Yeah.
We can try to save it, but you're not going to see the same kind of revenue.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Any other comments?
I'd
No?
just
Go
like
ahead.
to add
Yeah.
that I
Yeah,
too
Peter?
have spent time with Dave Ryan and the council, who have been put in place the conditions to work the Durham Live transaction, which was third-party related. What I really like is he consulted and they consulted with people who voted in the referendum, as you said, and I like what Adam's saying, you know, that this is bigger than just one community and one area. This is about the Durham region and attracting good quality jobs, and I tip my hat to the Pickering Council and the leadership they've shown in sharing the revenues.
But the Durham is getting its share. Look at how much revenue will be generated. What will be the face of Pickering, and by having a developed and growth in Pickering, it will affect the entire region, entire
I think it's
Durham
important
region.
to not see a
So that's
casino.
very important. I'm not talking
Yeah.
about casino.
Yeah.
I'm talking about all the activities related to casino.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, Adam.
I
You had a
think we
comment
need-
there?
I think
Just
we
30
need to be-
seconds.
Okay, I think we need to be careful when we start referring to Durham Live as being the face of Pickering. I really do. I think studies have shown time and time again that yes, casinos do draw people to the casino. Live venues bring people to the venue. But those people very rarely leave that venue. Durham Live is unique in that it'll have a variety of services within that venue, but studies have shown time and time again that people come off the bus, visit the venue, get on the bus, and leave. So we
It's
need
a
to be very
business.
careful.
It's a business.
It is a
basically.
business,
It's
but that's not going to
it's
be
a
the
big
face of
business.
Pickering.
It's a big business coming in the Durham. The only thing is location is in Pickering, and
Scott?
being MPP of Pickering, I love it.
I like it too.
Okay, it has to be a hot topic in the community because it's a hot topic right here. Let's move on then. So this question, Adam, I'm going to start with you on this guy,
Sure.
and this is actually this is kind of Greenbelt stuff, so green for green here. For many Durham residents, the preservation of the Greenbelt is a high priority on their list. The town of Ajax is urging the headwaters of the Crothers Creeks should be added to the Greenbelt. Would you support this? Why or why not?
100%. The Green Party has a stance. Not only do we want to protect the Green Belt, but we want to create something called the Blue Belt. We're seeing a lot of damage happening to our waterways, so we actually want to expand the definition of Green Belt to include something that we're referring to as the Green Belt. We want to protect the aquifers and streams that are running through, above and below the Green Belt, and Crothers Creek would be part of that. I think it's important and vital that we manage all of our resources. The Green Belt is vital to our area. We were speaking just earlier about how much we value the area of North Pickering and how it was a draw for my family when we came to Pickering to have the Green Belt. It wasn't called the Green Belt back then, but to have that Green Belt above us. And I think protecting our waterways is paramount.
Okay, Abram?
Yes, I'm a supporter of Greenbelt, and I understand that the members of our community have concerns, some concerns, especially when I look at leadership of PC party and their closed stand on Greenbelt, which has been taken away flip-flop. So Greenbelt is not just a farmer's field. Greenbelt protects approximately 810,000 hectares of valuable green space, farmland, forest, wetlands, watersheds, and I feel strongly that we should protect our green lands. However, when it comes, there should be a balance. If we have to give some exceptions, so balance should be there. Without ruining, eliminating, damaging our green land. I would say I'm getting my all oxygen. I don't want to compromise on green line because that means I'm having less oxygen. to
Okay.
live.
All right, Peter?
Well, I think we can all agree that the environment is really important to our future, and I have a daughter who's very committed to that, and I share a lot of her concerns about the environment. I hadn't heard about the blue belt before. I've heard about the yellow belt and the white belt and the green belt, but now we got the blue belt, so I got to get up to speed on that. And I think we have to take, I'll work closely in Queen's Park with the councillors of not only Pickering and the region, but also my colleague Rod Phillips, who will be elected in Ajax. We'll work together to ensure that all stakeholders are heard on Carruthers Creek, because I think it is important. With regard to, I think, Ibrahim, you're referring to perhaps Doug Ford and the green belt, and as you know, we won't touch a single part of the green belt. Kathleen Wynne has touched the green belt 17 times, and so we will not touch it.
I'm glad.
But we have to look at solutions. We have to listen to all stakeholders because we care about the environment. We also care about many Ontarians who cannot afford housing. We have to find solutions. And supply is a very big part of finding solutions with regard to housing, because life has become unaffordable for a number of people and families in Ontario. So I think we have to do our part for the environment, there's no question. Listen to all stakeholders, but we have to find credible solutions, because house pricing for young families, for seniors, for many in Ontario is unaffordable.
Okay, very good.
Peter,
Ibrahim, you had a comment there? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm glad that the plans made in a private room with the private investors, when they were made public by the Liberal Party of Ontario, I'm glad that they were rescinded by the person who has taken those remarks, and I will definitely, I appreciate Ontario Liberal Party's bringing that private meeting pledges into the public. So I'm glad now.
Okay, very good. Okay, Ibrahim, this is your question next. Kind of in the same area, your backyard up there. Are you supportive of a future Pickering Airport? Yes, no, and why?
Yes, you have a good question. Yes, I'm just affirming your question. Okay. Airport is a federal jurisdiction, number one. Number two, airport, there's a lot of studies are going on. If I will be elected as MPP, definitely I will sit with the stakeholders, I will listen to the residents, I will look into all the studies, and then whatever will be possible for me, I will support people's will. That's my answer.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, the Green Party absolutely is against a Pickering Airport. As Ibrahim said, it is a federal issue, but I do believe that as MPPs, we must have some influence on it. We also need to give a voice to those who are concerned about things like a Pickering Airport. The land that was supposed to go towards the Pickering Airport has been locked up since the 1970s. Farmers' homes have been expropriated. A lot of that land just sits now. Houses are being demolished. Beautiful houses are being demolished that were once part of a vibrant community on the airport lands. And it's absolutely atrocious. Over time, we have seen slow erosion of those airport lands, which was initially a massive undertaking. We've slowly eroded those lands down and given parts of it to the new Rouge Park and other small green space initiatives. But the question still lies there. Are we going to get an airport? And unfortunately, it's been on the minds of Pickering residents since the 70s. I think it's time to stop going back and forth. I think it's time to finally say, we don't need an airport. The studies have been done. The people have been consulted. The stakeholders have been spoken to. I think it's a done deal. We need to say no. We need to say sorry to the farmers whose lives have been affected. We need to return these lands to being used for good prime farmland, being used for good agriculture. We need to start making money off these lands again through agriculture.
Okay, very good. Peter, what are your thoughts?
Well, you know, the democratically elected municipal government of Pickering voted 5-2 in favor of exploring a Pickering Airport. And I think it's important that the federal government, who is responsible for the decision on the airport, release the business case study done by KPMG, release the environmental studies that have been engaged, And also, I think it's very important that all stakeholders are listened to. But subject to all those three things being done, I would agree with both of you that the federal government should make a decision. You know, it's been 45 years, and even for the Liberals, that's a long time to make a decision. And people need to move forward. We need to move forward one way or the other. I like, Adam, your response in that regard. Regardless of what element of the spectrum you are and what you think, we need to move forward because population growth is occurring. People have to make decisions, and it is important land that we have to come to some conclusion. So I just call on the federal government to end 45 years of not making a decision and make a decision.
Okay, Abram, you had a comment there? Go ahead.
Yes, well, Peter has said very well that the federal government has to take decision, and 10 years of Harper government, I think he forgot to mention that why 10 years of Harper government they didn't take that important decision. And second is the federal government, since it's Liberal government, and I would say it's 2.5 years or 3 years in the office, but I would definitely refer 10 years of Harper.
Adam?
It's nice to bring up the 10 years of Harper. I'm not a fan myself either. But the fact of the matter is that these studies have been concluded during the Liberal federal government. And I realize this isn't a federal debate, but let's be honest here. Those studies were concluded during a Liberal federal government. The stakeholders were consulted during a Liberal government. So while it's nice to say that Harper was part of that, yes, he was, but somebody has to end the game, and the Liberal government is choosing not to be the ones who end this game. And really, the people, it's people who are sitting in the balance.
That's it. What's going to happen is people will come to whoever is elected at this table and say, let's get an answer. So that's why the question was there. Okay, Peter, this is going to be your question. And it goes, our healthcare system is dealing with a critical backlog of mental health services. What's your party's plan to clear the backlog and ensure those in need get the treatment they require?
Well, thank you for the question. It's such an important question, Don. I was speaking with Matt Anderson recently, the head of Lake Ridge Health, and he was telling me how a 12-year-old had committed suicide. And that's just not right. And the policy that we should all pursue is a zero suicides. This affects all of us. We all have someone in our family, our friend, who suffers from mental health. I've toured the region many times over since being nominated a year and a half ago. I've gone to Ontario Shores, I've gone to the Canadian Mental Health Association, I've seen it firsthand. So I'm very proud that Doug Ford and my party have stepped up with a $1.9 billion commitment over 10 years, which will be matched by the federal government for $3.8 billion to start tackling the problem. I supported the troops through True Patriot Love on a trek to the magnetic North Pole to support our troops with post-traumatic stress disorder, and I saw firsthand the effects of mental health and addiction issues, not only on our military but our first responders, and importantly our youth. And so this is just the beginning that we have to tackle this problem. It rises above partisan politics, I believe, and we have to make a strong commitment not only in funding but in terms of programs and in terms of infrastructure to support the people who are suffering legitimately from mental health and addiction.
Okay. Ariam, what are your thoughts on that question?
Mental health, I have been dealing directly with mental health patients for the past at least 7 years. I can understand the pains of the parents. I can understand the difficulties of those mental health patients to live in the community. Our government has created awareness about mental health. And now mental health is not a stigma anymore. We can talk mental health, we can speak about that. Yes, Peter has said 1.9 billion. That is the promise of PC Party. Ontario Liberal Party has already allocated $2.1 billion in mental health because they understand, we understand, our government understand that investing in healthcare, investing in health sector is very important. OHIP Plus, there's a lot of, and as I said, I have an experience. Mental health medicines, except 1 or 2 lithium, they're very expensive. OHIP Plus is covering all those medicine under the age of 25. On the other day, I was getting a briefing from one gentleman who's working in the mental health sector. He said, we are so thankful to the government putting almost 4,600 medicines that include mental health.
Okay, I'm going to have to stop you there, cut you off. You had your 2 minutes there. Okay, Adam, what are your thoughts on that mental health question? Do you need a question again, or are you okay?
I think I'm okay.
Yeah, all right.
Thanks for asking. I think this is one of those topics where I think, or at least I hope, that all of us are going to be pretty much in agreement with. It's really just a matter of how we word it or administrate it. The Green Party, of course, is also invested into mental health and mental wellness. As I mentioned in my opening, one of the things that we want to get into, or we want to invest in, is of course prevention. We want to look at speaking with children early, working with the curriculum, with the education curriculum to help, as we said, with mental health stigma. We also want to change some of the processes that are required, some of the red tape that's required for people to actually access and gain those services. We do support OHIP Plus. We think it's fantastic. We actually want to push the federal government to help us support actually expanding Pharmacare further, so that Pharmacare is open to all Ontarians. It's not fair that people are prescribed medicines and then can't afford to take them. We need to be supporting everybody. Another thing that the Green Party wants to invest in is in housing. There's a housing crisis, as we all know, an affordable housing crisis, and that trickles down as well as a mental health housing crisis. We need to invest in housing for people with mental health issues. And really getting rid of some of this red tape and some of the backlog that's involved in these wait lists for affordable housing for people with mental health issues. And also enlisting nurse practitioners and other qualified individuals to speak with mental health patients, to give us more professionals working with more people so we can work through the backlog.
Excellent. Good. Did you have a comment? Go ahead.
I did. You know, under this Liberal government, spending on mental health and addiction has gone from 11% to 6%. And this commitment to mental health care funding came after 15 years in power. We've got to tackle this. We're going to tackle this problem on day one. And let me also add, we're going to create 15,000 new beds in the first 5 years, because a lot of people who are clogging up our emergency rooms are people with mental health and addiction. So we're going to tackle this on day one.
Okay, very good. Okay, and we're going to go, Adam, to you with the next question. Now, this sort of kind of somewhat leads into, or follows up, I guess, the question we just had, and that's, what is the Green Party's position on Pharmacare for all of Ontario?
Sure. So as I mentioned, the Green Party's position on Pharmacare is we do support OHIP Plus, but we do want to see it expand. We want to make Pharmacare available to all Ontarians. We also want to change some of the OHIP regulations. We want to make it so that new residents to Ontario can actually access OHIP provided services earlier. Currently there's a wait time before you can access OHIP services. We want to reduce that. We want to make it so that if you're in Ontario and you get sick, you can get help. The other thing that we want to look at is we want to look at a dental care program as well. Study after study has shown that poor dental health also is a trigger to mental health issues as well as other health issues. So we really believe that we need to have a dental program for all Ontarians as well to help with dental health.
Very good. Ibram?
OHIP Plus, everyone knows the benefits of OHIP Plus. Hundreds and thousands of families are so happy. Almost 1 million youth and the kids have already benefited from healthcare. Healthcare, OHIP Plus, when I say. And I personally, candidate of Ontario Liberal Party, but I personally thank to all those who voted and for OHIP Plus, especially I must say NDP, that they voted, and the benefit is now being reaped by everyone. I've been working with a lot of low and middle class families. When I spoke before the December that this benefit is coming, they were say, oh, unbelievable. And now when I talk, I go to the doors, I have a conversation. Everyone who has kids under 25, they are just very happy. And once again, I will again say I'm thankful, personally thankful to the Ontario Liberal Party for bringing this.
Okay. Very good. Thanks very much. Peter.
Well, it seems that in the last Liberal budget, everything is free. You don't have to pay for anything, and certainly we have to be fiscally responsible. And one area that we do support is the OHIP Plus. So we'll continue to support that. But we're also going to make life more affordable for a number of people who are in the low-income areas. So we're going to provide hydro relief in the form of a further 12% cut. We're going to provide income tax cuts for those making minimum wage.
Okay, we'll talk about those points in a little bit. There's some of those questions a little farther down. So just in your position then, just getting a clear answer on the Pharmacare, the party is okay with the current status quo that the OHIP Plus?
Yes, we've said that, but I do want to address affordability because it speaks to affordability, and that's the area that we're going to provide relief as
that'll
well.
That'll be down in our questions a little bit. Okay, all right, that's great. Okay, so any responses back on that? No, we're good there. Okay, we're going to go to who's next on the hit parade here. So that I think Ibrahim, I think it's you next.
I think he did that one.
Just a sec.
Sorry, who do you have?
Sorry, was that Adam? Did I ask you that question, Adam?
You did. I think you
so
did.
Is that right?
Or maybe it was Ibrahim. I can't remember.
Okay, all right.
Who's on this panel?
Okay, I'll go to Ibrahim anyways, and it'll sort itself out. This one's about minimum wage. It says, what's your position on the recent hike in minimum wage, and where do you see your party taking this? So we will go Ibrahim, and then we'll go to you next, okay?
When I see my personal story, this is Canada. I came as an immigrant in 2001, 18 years, 17 to 18 years. When I came, I worked as a call center employee and I was making $7. I know I was living in a basement and it was so difficult for me to feed my wife and 2 kids. I have been talking with a lot of those businessmen who were in the same situation, and they are so happy to give $14 and $15 to their employees as a living wage. Anyone who has, if 2 people are working, they're making 60 grands. They can afford a house, they can afford a car, and they can go on vacation. $15 minimum wage I have seen Denmark, Australia, where the Denmark wages are 21. Australia wages $19. And in Ontario, we are very competitive, and I support my party. I support Ontario Liberal Party on these. I will not say. I will rephrase it. I will not say it's a minimum wage. I will rephrase it. It's a living wage.
So you support that, okay?
Yes.
Peter, where are you on the issue?
Well, we support a living wage, and we support increasing a minimum wage. There's no question about that. But of course, Kathleen and the Liberals were increasing minimum wage by inflation, and then at the last minute decided that they needed to increase minimum wage by 32% in 18 months. And I heard from a lot of small businesses, medium-sized business, charitable organizations, it was too fast and it was without consultation. The other thing I would point out is we're not sitting right next door to Denmark. We're sitting right next door to Quebec, who's also increasing their minimum wage, but in a more measured way, as is BC. Not to $15, but over time. California even, where I think the Liberals got the idea, it doesn't go to $15 until 2023. So the pace of change has been dramatic. And many studies of independent parties said that this would hurt the economy and hurt jobs. And in the first month after it was implemented, 50,000 jobs were lost. So it has hurt many of the same people that it was intended to support. We're going to provide relief to those making minimum wage. And anyone making minimum wage will pay zero tax. And that's the way we're going to help. And we will continue to increase minimum wage at the rate of inflation, which is a just and right thing to do.
Well, I understand that.
Let's just, everyone, let me just have Adam have a say there. Go ahead, Adam.
Okay, so first of all, the Green Party supports the minimum wage increase. We do think that it was a little bit strong, a little bit fast, a little bit difficult for some of the small businesses to handle. So one of the things that the Green Party wants to do is we want to actually lower payroll taxes for small businesses to help get used to this change. As far as whether or not we would be supportive of increases, it's interesting when you guys are talking about a living wage. The living wage is actually something that's calculated based on a person's income, their availability to find housing, food, transportation, and childcare within a certain area. So in fact, the living wage in Pickering is actually much higher than $14 an hour due to the cost of affordability of housing and transportation in the area. So the Green Party does want to push for a living wage over time. We know that's not something that we can jump to immediately. We know the damage that that would create. But that is something that we believe that we need to push towards. Everybody deserves to make a living wage. Everybody deserves to be able to put food on the table and support their family. And I think, you know, yeah, the $14 an hour, it was hard. It was necessary, perhaps a little bit quick, but it was necessary so that people could live a better life and support their families.
Okay, go ahead,
just to my friend Peter, I was present at Queen's Park when the bill was passed, and PCs, they never voted for living wages. That's a record. And then PC leadership said we will reverse it, and they said no, we will freeze it at $14. We will not increase to $15. So in my opinion, PC is not clear.
Okay,
well, I can be clear on that.
Yeah,
since that was directed at me.
Adam just beat you just by a sector, so go ahead,
Sorry,
Adam.
Peter. I just want to be absolutely clear here. When we're talking about terms like living wage and minimum wage, they are not the same thing. A living wage right now, the last time I did the calculations for Pickering, Ontario, a living wage is actually $17.86. So while you may be here saying that your government supports a living wage, I certainly don't see your government putting forth a living wage. So yeah, $14 an hour is fantastic, it's great, it's necessary, but it's not a living wage, and $15 isn't a living wage either.
Yeah, go ahead, Peter.
I have to agree with Adam, and the PCs did vote in the legislature for $14, and we have to do more. And one of the ways we can do more is by having better quality and greater jobs in Pickering, and sadly, the Liberals have not delivered in Pickering.
Okay, I'm going to ask a question on living wage. It's actually not on the sheets here, but you did a calculation, Adam. Is that something that you feel would have to be a regional type of calculation?
100%, absolutely. So the living wage, for instance, in Toronto is going to be different than a living wage in Durham region. A living wage in Pickering is going to be different than a living wage in Oshawa or Muskoka. And there are certain employers who have already started independently on their own, employers who have chosen to pay their employees a living wage. So for instance, I don't want to drop names, but Muskoka Brewery has chosen to pay their employees a living wage in Muskoka, which in the Muskokas I believe is close to $18 an hour. What that means for their employees is that their employees can actually...
Okay, Ebrahim, how would you define a living wage? And do you believe it's a regional type of wage?
When I say living wage, it's Ontario-wise because we are Ontario. I'm going for a MPP, and I want to represent Pickering-Uxbridge in Queen's Park. So when I will be a part of decision making, that is for Ontarians.
Okay, very good. Peter, how about you?
Well, I haven't done the calculation like Adam recently, but I would say that we have one way to help people is to make life more affordable and to get better quality jobs here. So we do have to do that collectively, and I do think that all parties would agree that that's what we do public service for.
Very good. Okay, that's great. So Adam, this is coming to you next, and I'm just going to go down my list here. This is a tuition question. It says increases in tuition are rapidly putting post-secondary education out of reach for many. How would you and your party address the high cost of university and college? I have our timekeeper here. She was telling me earlier on that her annual schooling costs, not living costs, but schooling costs, are about $8,000 a year, and I was completely in shock. So, Adam, what would the Green Party be doing with that?
Yeah, so currently tuition costs are actually preventing or obstructing a lot of students from continuing in post-secondary education. That's reality. I've got 2 children who should be in post-secondary education right now and are carefully weighing their options due to the cost. What the Green Party wants to do is, first of all, we want to find some efficiencies in our education system so that we can help create some funding so that we can, first of all, stop tuition increases and then start to look at lowering tuitions and then hopefully moving towards a model where at least community colleges are either extremely affordable or hopefully in the future completely tuition free for all Ontarians, making post-secondary education actually feasible for the next generation. We know it's not something that we can do immediately, but it's something that we want to work with whichever government is there to work with, we want to work towards.
Very good. Deborah?
I'm a little scared now from my counterpart, Peter, then he will again say, oh, free. Because he doesn't like free care for Ontarians, maybe. My answer to this is that with the inflation, with the administrative cost, things gets expensive. But as a government, what I'm doing, as a policy maker, what I'm thinking on it, and Ontario Liberal Party foresee this. That was the reason they introduced this free tuition. 225,000 students got benefit from this free tuition. That means a lot of those families who are struggling and their kids are not able to go to the university, at least they now understand they can go and get admission in university. I'll give you my personal example. Last year, when my son was going to university, he came to me. He said, Dad, do you have money to send me to the university? Because people are thinking university is very expensive. I said, yes, because the Ontario Liberal government made it easy for middle class like me, businessmen, small business like me, and their kids to go to the university, and they get the relief.
Very good. Okay, Peter?
Well, I am going to bring up the word free. The easiest vote to get is to say everything is free. The hardest vote to get is to have to say I have to pay it back. So that's an important distinction there. And with the Liberal budget, everything was free. And with the NDP, it's just more of the same. I work at a not-for-profit that specializes in post-secondary education and helps mothers and fathers save for their children's post-secondary education. So this is something I know about. There is the Canada Education Savings Grant that 50% of Canadians and 50% of Ontarians don't take advantage of. So we need to do more awareness on that. And there is the Canadian Learning Bond, which also helps low-income families where you don't have to contribute anything. I've toured the University of Ontario Institute of Technology in Durham College. By the way, the college system started by Bill Davis, a Conservative, and UOIT, through the championing efforts of Janet Ecker and Jim Flattery. So Conservatives are education post-secondary friendly and support that. I think the thing that we can do that would really help in a big way, apart from the affordability and putting more money in the pockets of parents, is provide good quality jobs for graduating students. We have a youth unemployment challenge here in Durham. We've got to attract businesses to the region and quality jobs, and so that when the expense of investing $8,000 in a year in education, at the end of it, there's an opportunity to work hard and get ahead.
Okay,
But the Liberal government, by the way, when it comes to youth, the Liberal government is investing $411 million over the next 3 years in talent and skills to help support youth jobs.
Very good. Any other comments? No? Okay, we'll move forward here. And Ibrahim, this is going to be a question for you. What is your, well, we'll start with you. It's not just your question. What is your position on the carbon tax currently being paid by Ontario taxpayers?
I don't think so. There's anything carbon tax by the name of carbon tax in Ontario. So definitely we are Ontario Liberal Party have brought a different system. So we cannot say there's no carbon tax. In fact, I would dissent in Ontario.
Okay, I was under the impression there was a carbon tax that
There
went,
is.
that
There
went
is.
on fuel.
There is a.
Is there?
Can
Okay.
is it my turn or? Is it
Yeah, you go ahead.
It could be your
You
turn,
want me to
sure.
Now you're going to give me a zinger at the end.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
my friend
No, you go ahead,
Peter.
Peter. You're next. Yeah.
There is a carbon tax. It's in the form of a cap and trade system, which
Yeah.
is another tax. And now Conservatives believe in the environment. We want to do our part. Climate change is real. But putting government's hand in your pocket to take more of your hard-earned dollars, we're amongst the highest, we are the highest tax jurisdiction in North America. We used to be the lowest, or among the lowest. So putting our hands in your pocket again to take more of your hard-earned dollars out, there's other ways to deal with the environment through incentives, through programs, through encouraging polluters and putting in penalties. There are other ways. We don't think that the way to do that is by government putting their hand in your pocket and putting it in a black hole, which currently is the cap and trade, where money is flowing out of the province into places like California. We are not getting the benefits, and we're not going to see the emission changes through that mechanism in our judgment.
Okay, Adam.
Sorry.
No, please.
So the cap and trade program that the Liberal government currently has, as you mentioned, it's a bit of a black hole. It's not administrated properly. It doesn't really do its goal of limiting pollution per se, and money does flow out of the province. Tax is an ugly word. People don't like it, but the Green Party does support a carbon tax. We support a tax on carbon, absolutely. We want to take that money, though, that we get from a carbon tax. And by the way, when we speak about a carbon tax from the Green Party perspective, the people that we really want to focus on are the big polluters, the large contributors to greenhouse gases. Those are the people that we really want to target. But we also, so while penalizing those who pollute, we want to benefit those who don't. So what we believe in is a carbon tax, but also a neutralized, so a levy system, where the money that we get from a carbon tax actually flows back to residents' pocketbooks of Ontario. So the taxes that we collect would actually be then paid out to Ontarians who are conserving or not incurring a pollution carbon tax.
Okay.
Yeah,
Ibrahim, go ahead.
I'm glad that Peter said the same thing which I said. There's no carbon tax. However, cap and trade.
That is a carbon tax.
Yeah, anyways, okay. So I myself and Liberal government is committed for clean environment and give the clean environment to the Ontarians.
Okay, so as a consumer, where do I see a carbon tax? Do I actually see a carbon tax on my gasoline, on my home heating oil? Is it buried? I don't see a line item in Ontario.
So it gets buried, I think, first of all, it gets not necessarily buried, but it gets absorbed by the large polluters who are actually being, I guess, hit with cap and trade,
Okay.
since you don't want to call it a carbon tax. So stuff like that tends to get absorbed, I guess, into the goods that you're buying, the goods and services that you're buying.
So it's essentially a hidden tax then?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is, and it shows up at the pump,
Yeah, very
4 or
good.
5 cents.
I know it's showing up in my diesel fuel, that's for sure. Okay, we'll move on here, and Peter, this is going to go to you. Do you believe that Ontario is open for business, and why?
Do I think Ontario is open for business? I think Ontario is not open for business. I think we're making it really tough to attract capital and investment in this province. If you think about it, we're the red tape capital of North America. We have more regulations and red tape, about 380,000 rules in this province. Secondly, our hydro rates, which used to be the second lowest in North America, only second to Quebec, are now among the highest hydro rates. And for those that use energy, that's a big inhibitor to coming to this province. I mentioned our tax rates. And we've got a bit of a developing problem because the U.S. has significantly lowered their corporate tax rates and their corporate tax deductions. So one of the reasons to come to Ontario, we've lost one of those advantages. So, and I think fourthly, it's a mindset. We've got to say Ontario is open for business. Doug Ford has said that many times, that we want to put a "we're open for business" sign in Ontario so that we can attract quality jobs into this province and start building the Ontario of tomorrow. So yes, and I think the rapid increase, as Adam had pointed out as well as myself, the rapid increasing of the minimum wage doesn't help. And you know, it's a balance here. We have to worry about our kids getting employment. We have a chilling effect out west with the pipeline. There's no capital going into Alberta. And we're starting to see data that's showing that investment in Canada is starting to dry up. So it is a concern.
Abram, what are your thoughts? Do you think Ontario is open for business?
Ontario Liberal Party and I both are, being small businessmen, both are understand that Ontario is the best place for businesses. We have the best economy among G7 countries. We outperformed even Canadian economy, Ontario economy. We have the least unemployment ratio in the history of for the last 15 years. And all the businesses are booming. And our Ontario Liberal government is supporting, and if I will be elected MPP, I will make sure to reduce and cut red tapeism, and the information, access to the information, will make sure that access to the information for setting up small businesses should be there.
Very good. Okay, Adam, what are your thoughts?
I'd love to say Ontario is open for business, but as you've already heard, there's red tape in the way. There's concerns about wages. There's concerns about hydro prices. The Green Party wants to remove the red tape. We want to reduce hydro prices. We want to invest in clean tech jobs. We see that as the future of Ontario. We really see green technology, innovation, clean tech corporate manufacturing as really being the future. And I mean, if we want to talk specifically about Pickering and even Ajax and Uxbridge, recently in the Ajax Pickering Board of Trade, a lot of the businesses that are members of the Ajax Pickering Board of Trade mentioned that they think their businesses are doing great, but when they ask the same question about Ontario, they have a much different view. So it's funny that we all want Ontario to be open for business, but when it comes down to actually the businesses that are in Ontario, they're having hard times. So we need to help them have an easier time. We need to attract and invest in an innovative technology and in manufacturing. And can Ontario be open for business? Absolutely, it can be. We just need to set the stage properly so that businesses can come here and feel confident to come here, not being worried that if we go there and we happen to use electricity, are our rates going to go through the roof next month? We don't know. That's scary for a large corporation.
Yeah, Peter, you had a comment?
Yeah, I just want to say, you know, I got nominated 1.5 years ago, and I've been knocking on doors ever since. And Ibrahim, I don't know what you're hearing at the door, but I'm certainly hearing at the door a number of small businesses. I met one young man, maybe in his early 40s, that had to sell his businesses because he just couldn't compete. And so you see at the door knocking that people are struggling. So I think that it's a mindset thing. We have to help people, and particularly here in Durham, where we have a youth unemployment, we've got to support businesses here in Durham, not just Ontario.
Yeah, very good.
I think
Okay.
it's, sorry.
No, go ahead. No, it's fine. No, you go
I
ahead.
think it's
Go ahead.
important that whichever government is in charge, I think we need to have accountability, and I think we need to create better, more accurate, and more live, real-time economic measures. I think it's easy for the three of us to stand here and say we think that Ontario is open for business, but I think that if we have live, real-time economic monitoring, then we can actually see where there's gaps, where there's red tape, and then we can try to change that.
Okay, very good. Abram,
I
go
just
ahead.
want to say, when I talk about this businesses, Durham is my home, where my kids goes to school, where I live. So charity begins at home. So I would like to see Durham with a flourishing business should be flourishing and growth of the businesses. However, when I say Ontarians, that means being MPP, I have double responsibility. One is Pickering-Durham and one is Ontarians.
Okay, that's good. Okay, we're going to move on to another question. And Adam, this is your baby to start with. I'll just read it as it's written down here. A new local planning tribunal will replace the Ontario Municipal Board. What are your thoughts on the new tribunal? Will it benefit local municipalities, and what further changes would you like to see?
That's a new one. I was not aware of that.
No? Okay. All right. That's an
sorry.
honest answer.
And listen,
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that, because that is one thing that the Green Party is definitely invested and very proud to say, is that we want to bring honesty and integrity back into politics. I honestly don't have a comment to make on that, because I honestly haven't looked into it, so I can't make any promises or any guarantees towards
Very
that.
good. Okay, thanks very much. Abram, do you have any thoughts on that? Or?
This is a new question for me as well.
Okay.
And thank you for bringing on the table. And one thing I promise, here at Rogers TV, the first thing I'll study about that, and I will send you an answer by myself.
Very good, yeah.
Whether my viewer will be benefited or not, but I will send my answer.
Okay. Peter, is it new news to you as well?
No, it's
No?
part of
Okay.
the 16-point plan that the Ontario Liberal government threw against the wall because they didn't know what to do about housing. And I think what this is doing is changing the approval process from the OMB to, I forget the acronym for the new organization. But what's really, and you have to be sensitive to local concerns. My concern about this would be, first of all, it's changed and we don't know what it's going to look like. But I would say the second thing is we do have a housing affordability issue. And so this is about supply. This is about, right now I think it takes a developer about 7 years to get all the approval in place to develop something. And we have, for our young families and individuals graduating, and even for seniors, for many people, housing has become unaffordable. So we have to find solutions to make sure that we can build, whether it's up. A lot of people here in Durham want a front door and a back door. And so we have to find ways. We're not going to touch the Greenbelt. We've touched the Greenbelt 17 times, and you want the Blue Belt. And I'm
You said green
what-
belt, but you said, but your leader
and I like the
said.
color blue, so I'm good with that. I think I like Adam's Blue Belt. But so it's changed, and we have to be sensitive to the supply issue and the housing and affordability.
Okay, let's talk a little bit more about affordability, and Peter, I'll stay with you on that. My son has a construction business, and I'm always appalled at the cost of just building materials. Forget about service land and lots. Does the PC party have a sort of a toolbox solution for trying to make housing more affordable?
Well, we have a toolbox. There's many things in there. One of them is to look at the supply side and to look at the amount of red tape that we have in the process. That's one area. I think we have to look at innovations in the land that we have. There's a good task force report chaired by my fellow colleague. We're in Oshawa, Bob Chapman, who's the chair of the Affordability and Senior Housing Task Force, along with the Vice Chair Dave Pickles from Pickering. And in there they have a lot of very good innovative ideas, partnering with government and at the local level to help with housing affordability. And that was the phase 1 study, and that's through outreach. I think we all have to say this is something we really have to focus on and find solutions. My toolkit is still developing, and it's through outreach and listening to a lot of people, including the regional councils of the Durham region.
Yeah. Edward,
Yes,
thoughts?
affordable housing is, since economy is booming for the last 15 years and we have a great economy, and if you look at after 2010, housing market was booming. And there was a ripple effect, there was a lot of jobs, and but with that I was a little afraid, and everybody was afraid, the government was afraid that our kids may not be able to purchase the houses or get the houses as we have. And Ontario Liberal government came with a fair housing plan, and one of the reason because of that fair housing plan, we try to bring the housing market with a natural growth, so that it should not be speculators should go out of the housing market. Second, we introduced the rent control, and I as a MPP of Pickering-Uxbridge, I will make sure that all the new developments builder should be conditioned, approval should be conditioned with a percentage of affordable housing in that community, all the new communities.
Yeah, very good. Adam?
So what's interesting is that that condition actually already exists, it's just not enforced. So it's nice to say that we want to say that there's a condition, but that condition only works if people follow it. Does the Green Party have a toolbox? Sure, it's a green toolbox. The first thing we want to do is we want to prioritize people over speculators. Right now a lot of land is being taken up by speculation and by projects that simply don't move forward or move forward so slowly that they end up collapsing upon themselves. As Peter mentioned, some projects can take between 1 and 7 years to come to fruition. So to that, we want to update zoning as well to create more availability and more available areas where we can actually build. But we want to remove some of the costly municipal red tape that's involved in people building within their own home. So for instance, in-law suites, basement apartments, stuff like that. We want to remove some of that red tape that exists for them to create those, but also there's a municipal red tape, and it costs money for municipalities to create affordable housing. So that ends up coming down on Pickering's, as a municipality's shoulder. What we think is that the provincial government should be shouldering more of that responsibility and helping move these projects forward and taking away some of that red tape. We believe in a 5-to-1 ratio. 20% of all new builds should be affordable. And when we say affordable, we mean truly affordable. And then a portion of that needs to be what we consider deeply affordable. And I guess the last thing we need to do is we need to coordinate access points where people can actually find affordable housing easier. We have a huge backlog of people who are trying to find affordable housing. Those people include people who are mentally ill, people who are on ODSP. So we need to make it more accessible when that housing is created.
Very good.
When you say
Okay, Abram, yeah,
yes,
one response, and then we're going to do our last question.
Condition exist. Yeah, I know that. I fully understand. But the thing is, when you are not working closely with the municipalities and the other governments, so you cannot make sure that it should be there. So as an MPP of Pickering-Uxbridge, I will work closely with all 3 levels of governments so that we can, the benefits can be at the lowest level.
Which is fantastic,
Yeah.
except that over the last however many years of Liberal government, I think it's great that you want to do that. I think that's awesome. But in reality, when you get your job description, are you going to be able to monitor all 3 levels of government plus make sure that affordable housing conditions are being met?
I just monitor, coordinate.
Okay. All right, the last word, then
just
we're going to
gotta
go on to our
say-
last question.
Yeah, I just got to say 15 years to do something, and you got the federal Liberals. I think time's up.
All right, okay. Going on to the last question. Many residents were outraged upon learning that the 412, which links the highways 401 and 407, would be a pay-per-use highway. Should the 412 be a free highway, and how would your party go about making the necessary changes? And Imran, we're going to start with you on that.
First of all, 407 extension was a great job done by our government, because when I look back, 407 was given away by during a fire sale by conservative government for 99-year lease. Brutal. And with 407 extension, 412 came, and that is, I agree, it's a tall route. As an MPP, as MPP of Pickering-Uxbridge, I will definitely listen the concerns and coordinate with all the stakeholders, and I'll see what can I bring the change in this project.
Okay, Peter, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think the mother of all fire sales was probably Hydro One, and that's in recent times. And I would remind people that Jim Flaherty and Janet Ecker worked on widening the 401 and bringing the 407 extension. So we have them to thank in part for that. So PC governments actually deliver for Durham. We got to get back to that. But on
And
the
on the
412,
412, yeah.
on the 412, we got to fight that, because this is the only region that has a public toll like that on a government property, Ibrahim. And Durham has often not received its fair share of funding, just like the recent healthcare budget from the Liberals. We got 5% of the population, we get 1.5% of the funding. But on a toll road, first place is Durham, and that's not right. So when I am MPP at Queen's Park, and if we're fortunate enough to form government, I'm going to fight the tolls, and I'm going to fight for Durham.
Okay, Adam, what are your thoughts?
Well, unfortunately, this one is one where people don't like the Green Party very much. Unfortunately, we do believe in tolls. But the other side of that is that we believe that money collected from tolls need to go directly towards transit. We think that congestion charges or toll charges, when that money comes in, it needs to be immediately earmarked towards transit initiatives, towards making transit more affordable, and towards green tech innovation in transit as well. We need to make our transit infrastructure greener, more environmentally friendly. So unfortunately, tolls are an unfortunate part of driving. I'm a driver myself. I drive the 407 every single day. I've seen a lot of changes in the 407 over those years, and occasionally I do take the 412, and as much as I hate to take it, I have to.
I hear you very well. Okay, that's great. Well, we are coming to the end of our debate here, and I'd like to thank all of you folks here for participating today. It's our time for closing statements. Once again, I'll begin by reading a closing statement from the NDP candidate, Narissa Carrillo, and here we go. Narissa Carrillo says, I'm proud to say that through my work I have a strong and ever-growing connection and affinity for the community and the people in it. I want what is best for you and what is best for us. Together we can make it happen. Andrea Horvath and the NDP will provide health and dental care for all Ontarians, end hallway medicine and fix seniors' care, deprivatize public services and cut hydro bills by 30%, take on student debt by converting loans to grants, and of course implement an average cost of $12 a day childcare for everyone. No one will be left behind with an NDP government. Services are being cut and families are feeling the squeeze. It's time for a change for the better. Thank you. So I'll just set that off to one side. And Adam Narroway, our Green candidate, your closing statement, if you would, please.
Thanks, Don. The only way to change things in Queen's Park is to elect a new party with a new vision and a new way of doing things, and that's the Green Party. As your Green MPP, I'm going to be a voice for the community. I'll be a voice for Pickering-Uxbridge. I'll take your views and your opinions to Queen's Park. I'll work for you instead of against you. Politics as usual is broken. It's time to not accept the status quo anymore. It's time to stop recycling the same three parties. And it's time for a new vision and a new voice. My name is Adam Narroway. I'm the Green MPP for Uxbridge Pickering, and I want to be that voice.
Okay, thanks very much. The next closing statements are
Thank you again, the
candidate. Go ahead. Go ahead, you're anxious.
You're eager.
Go ahead, Abraham.
So, Thank you again, the organizers, for giving me the opportunity to debate with the opposition counterpart today. Make no mistake about it, this campaign is about care versus cuts. I have been meeting and listening to various community members, leaders and neighborhood groups about their issues, and all of them have told me that they need the government's support, not cuts to their services. While Ontario's economy has grown under the Liberal government with G7 leading growth and the lowest unemployment in 20 years, not everyone is feeling benefits. The Ontario Liberal Party has the best plan to guarantee everyone benefit from Ontario's strong economy. It provides opportunity for families, workers, women and seniors, all while fostering a competitive business environment. On June 7th, I ask you support to serve the needs of our growing economy of Pickering-Uxbridge. Elect me as your MPP, and my phone number will remain same, 647-390-8000. 647-390-8000. Call me anytime.
Move on to the PC candidate, Peter Beth-Lefty-Fowley. Go ahead, Peter.
Thank you, Don, and thank you, Rogers TV, and thank you for all of you listening tonight and today. My name is Peter Beth-Lefty, and I am applying for the job of MPP and we're trying to get hired to work for you in the riding of Pickering-Uxbridge. You know, I'm fortunate to have grown up in a prosperous economy where you could work hard and get ahead. But today, businesses in Pickering are facing red tape, high hydro costs, and higher taxes. People, including our youth, are finding it hard to find a good job, finding housing unaffordable, finding taxes high, and skyrocketing hydro rates are crippling. But help is coming. A progressive Conservative government will provide relief on hydro rates, lower your taxes, create good jobs, fix the healthcare system, and bring back accountability and integrity into government. On June 7th, vote for change that works for you, the people. Vote for me, Peter Beth-Lefty in Pickering-Uxbridge. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. And that concludes our debate featuring the candidates for Pickering-Uxbridge Riding. I'm Don Pittman. Thanks for watching. Tune in to Rogers TV on election night for your local results, and be sure to cast your ballot on June the 7th. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.